The morning started like any other, but sometimes the most ordinary days hold the biggest surprises. Have you ever noticed how life can change in just one moment? That's exactly what happened to me on a cool spring day that I'll never forget. My name is Evelyn, and at 65, I thought I knew what the rest of my life would look like. Quiet mornings, empty evenings, and memories of better days. But life had other plans for me. It was one of those tricky spring mornings where you couldn't tell if the sun would win against the gray clouds. The light kept changing, making strange shadows dance across my little garden. I've always loved my garden. It's been my safe place, especially since I lost my dear husband John a few years back. I had my usual morning routine down to a science. Wake up at 7, make my coffee extra strong, and sit on my front porch wrapped in my favorite blue knitted shawl, the one John gave me for our last Christmas together. I'd watch the hummingbirds zip around like tiny green bullets, diving in and out of my flower beds. Those little birds always made me smile, even on my saddest days. That particular morning felt different, though I couldn't put my finger on why. The air smelled like rain, that fresh, clean smell that promises a good shower is coming. I took a deep breath and felt something stir in my chest. Hope, maybe? Or just the coffee kicking in. I settled into my favorite wicker chair, the one that creaks just right when you sit down. My coffee mug was still warm in my hands when I noticed something that made me frown. The bird feeder hanging from the old oak tree was completely empty, swinging back and forth in the gentle breeze like a sad little bell. "Oh, you poor things," I said out loud to the birds chirping overhead. They seemed to be giving me disappointed looks, if birds can do such a thing. "I'm so sorry. I meant to fill that yesterday. I really had meant to." But lately, I'd been forgetting little things like that. Not because I'm getting old and forgetful, at least. I don't think so, but because when you live alone, sometimes the days just blend together. Monday feels like Wednesday, and before you know it, a week has passed. I was just thinking about getting up to fill the feeder when I heard something that made me stop mid-sip. A gentle knock, but not from my front door. This knock was coming from the side of my house, from the little wooden gate that leads to my backyard. Now, that was strange. In all my years living in this house, nobody had ever come to my back gate. The mailman used the front door. The grocery delivery person used the front door. Even the kids selling cookies for school used the front door. Who on earth would be knocking on my back gate at 8 in the morning? I set my coffee cup down on the little table beside my chair, being careful not to spill it on the book I'd been trying to read for weeks. My knees complained a bit as I stood up. They always do in the morning, but I managed to make my way down the 3 porch steps without too much trouble. The walk around to the back gate felt longer than usual. Maybe because I was curious, or maybe because I was a little nervous. When you're used to being alone, unexpected visitors can feel like a big deal. I reached for the latch on the wooden gate, pausing for just a moment. What if it was someone I didn't want to see? What if it was bad news? But then I shook my head at myself. "Evelyn," I said under my breath, "you're being silly." I opened the gate and found myself looking into the kindest blue eyes I'd seen in a long time. "Tom," I said, probably louder than I meant to. I felt my cheeks get warm and quickly smoothed down my shawl, suddenly aware that I probably looked like I'd just rolled out of bed. Tom Henderson lived 3 houses down from me, and I'd always thought he was one of the nicest men in the neighborhood. He was probably in his early 70s, with beautiful silver hair that he always kept neat and tidy. He had the kind of face that looked like it smiled a lot, you know the type, with little crinkles around the eyes that come from years of laughing. Tom had lost his wife Margaret about 2 years ago. I remembered going to her funeral and thinking how lost he looked, how small he seemed standing there in his black suit. We'd exchanged polite hellos since then, maybe a wave when we were both getting our mail, but we'd never really talked. "Good morning, Evelyn," he said, and his voice was warm like honey. "I'm sorry for bothering you so early, but I noticed something that worried me a little." "Oh," I said, tilting my head. "What's wrong?" He pointed up toward my house, and I followed his gaze. "Your gutter up there," he said. "It's overflowing pretty badly from yesterday's rain. I could see it from my kitchen window this morning. All that water is going to cause problems if we don't fix it soon." I looked up and gasped. Sure enough, the gutter above my front porch was stuffed full of leaves and who knows what else. Water was dripping down steadily, creating a small puddle right on top of my favorite daffodils. "Oh, my goodness," I said, feeling embarrassed. I had no idea. I'm usually so good about keeping up with things like that. Tom smiled, and it was such a warm, understanding smile that I felt some of my embarrassment melt away. Don't worry about it, he said. These things happen, especially after a big storm like we had yesterday. The wind probably blew all kinds of debris up there, but I can't ask you to fix it, I said quickly. That would mean climbing up on a ladder, and Tom, we're not as young as we used to be. What if you fell? He laughed then, a rich sound that made something flutter in my chest. Evelyn, these old bones still have some life in them. I've been cleaning gutters since I was 20 years old. Plus, he said, his eyes twinkling, it would be my pleasure to help. That's what neighbors are for, right? I wanted to argue, but there was something about the way he said it that made me believe he really wanted to help. Not because he felt sorry for me, but because he was genuinely a good person. And honestly, I had no idea how I would fix that gutter by myself. Well, I said slowly, if you're sure it's not too much trouble. No trouble at all, he said, his smile getting even brighter. I've got my ladder in the truck right now. I was planning to clean my own gutters today anyway. Then the least I can do is make you some fresh coffee, I said, surprising myself with how eager I sounded. The good stuff, not the instant kind. Now that, Tom said, sounds absolutely perfect. I felt lighter as I walked back to the house, though I couldn't quite figure out why. Maybe it was just nice to have someone to talk to, someone who wasn't the checkout clerk at the grocery store or the lady at the bank. Or maybe it was something more than that. I busied myself in the kitchen, making a fresh pot of coffee and trying not to watch Tom through the window as he set up his ladder. But I found myself peeking anyway. He moved with confidence, like someone who'd done this kind of work his whole life. His movements were careful but sure, and I could see why he wasn't worried about falling. There was something comforting about having someone else around the house, even if he was outside working. The kitchen felt less empty, less quiet. I caught myself humming while I waited for the coffee to brew, something I hadn't done in months. When I heard Tom's footsteps on the porch, I felt that flutter in my chest again. I opened the door before he could knock, holding out a steaming mug of coffee. Perfect timing, he said, accepting the mug gratefully. His hands were a little dirty from the work, but they were strong hands, gentle hands. The kind of hands that knew how to fix things and take care of people. How bad was it up there? I asked, leading him over to the porch chairs. Not too bad, he said, settling into the chair next to mine. Mostly leaves and a few small branches. Your gutters are in good shape though. Someone took good care of this house. That was John, I said softly. My husband. He was always so good about maintaining things. I try to keep up with it, but it's hard to do everything yourself, Tom finished gently. I know exactly what you mean. Margaret always handled the inside of our house, and I took care of the outside. Now I'm trying to do both, and some days I feel like I'm barely keeping up. I looked at him with new understanding. It's lonely, isn't it? Having to make all the decisions by yourself, having to remember everything by yourself. Very lonely, he agreed quietly. Some days I catch myself starting to tell Margaret about something, and then I remember. He trailed off, staring into his coffee mug. I do the same thing with John, I admitted. I'll see something funny on TV, or I'll read something interesting in the newspaper, and I turn to tell him about it. The empty chair is always a shock. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, both lost in our own thoughts. But it wasn't the heavy, sad silence I was used to. This felt different, shared somehow. Like I wasn't carrying the weight of missing John all by myself. Your garden is beautiful, Evelyn, Tom said eventually, gesturing toward my flower beds. It's like a little piece of paradise right here in the neighborhood. I've always admired it when I walk by. I felt my cheeks warm with pleasure. Thank you. It's my favorite place in the world, I think. When I'm out there with my hands in the dirt, planting or weeding, or just watching things grow, I feel peaceful, like everything makes sense again. I can see why, he said. There's something magical about creating something beautiful, isn't there? About nurturing something and watching it flourish. Exactly, I said, probably too enthusiastically. But Tom just smiled, like he understood completely. Margaret used to love gardening too, he said. She had the most amazing vegetable garden you've ever seen. Tomatoes as big as softballs, green beans. That seemed to go on forever. I tried to keep it going after she passed, but I'm afraid I don't have her touch. It's different for everyone, I said gently. Maybe vegetables aren't Your thing. Have you tried flowers? I haven't really tried anything, he admitted. I guess I was afraid I'd kill everything and disappoint her memory somehow. Oh, Tom, I said, reaching over to touch his arm without thinking. She wouldn't want you to stop trying things because of her. She'd want you to find joy wherever you can. He looked down at my hand on his arm, and I suddenly realized what I'd done. I started to pull away, embarrassed, but he covered my hand with his free one. You're right, he said softly. She would say exactly that. Margaret always said life was too short to be afraid of making mistakes. The warmth of his hand over mine sent a little shock through me. It had been so long since someone had touched me with kindness, with comfort. I'd forgotten how nice it could feel. Maybe, I said, my voice a little unsteady. Maybe you'd like to see my garden sometime? I could show you some easy flowers to start with, ones that are hard to kill. Tom's eyes lit up. I would love that, Evelyn. I really would. We talked for another hour, our coffee growing cold, as we shared stories about our spouses, our children, who lived far away, our quiet daily routines. Tom told me about the book he was trying to write about his years as a high school history teacher. I told him about the quilts I'd been making for my granddaughters. It felt so natural, so easy. Like we'd been friends for years instead of barely acquainted neighbors. When Tom finally stood up to leave, I felt a little pang of disappointment. Thank you for the coffee, Evelyn, he said, and for the wonderful conversation. It's been the best morning I've had in a long time. Mine too, I said, and realized I meant it completely. Tom walked toward the gate, then stopped and turned back. Evelyn, he said, his voice a little uncertain, I hope this isn't too forward of me, but would you like to have dinner sometime? Nothing fancy, just. It's nice to have someone to talk to, someone who understands. My heart did a little skip. I'd like that very much, Tom. His smile was like sunshine. How about Saturday evening? I could cook, or we could go out, or, why don't you come here? I heard myself saying, I'll make dinner. It's been a long time since I've cooked for someone other than myself. That sounds perfect, he said. Saturday at 6? Saturday at 6, I agreed. After he left, I sat on my porch for a long time, staring at my garden, but not really seeing it. Something had shifted in my world, something I hadn't expected. For the first time in years, I had something to look forward to besides my morning coffee and my evening TV shows. I had a dinner date. At 65 years old, I had a dinner date. The thought made me laugh out loud, startling a squirrel that had been eyeing my bird feeder. Don't you judge me, I told the squirrel. There's life in these old bones yet, and for the first time in a very long time, I truly believed it was a simple moment, but deeply meaningful. Two people who'd experienced seamless finding comfort and perhaps something more precious in each other. Eventually, Tom stepped back, smiling tenderly. Then we'll take it one step at a time. I smiled warmly, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't known for years. I think that's just right. We said good night at the porch steps, Tom's soft smile lingering in my thoughts long after he'd gone. I returned indoors, feeling profoundly grateful for the unexpected turn my quiet life had taken for the first time in a long while. Loneliness seemed to have lost some of its power, yet beneath my joy lay a quiet whisper of uncertainty. Could two people shaped by decades of separate memories truly build something new at this stage of life? The answer felt unclear, but tonight I was content just to wonder. That night, wrapped in my shawl, as I often was, I found myself smiling softly at the stars, looking forward to whatever came next. Because of Tom's gentle courage, I'd rediscovered a warmth I had nearly forgotten. Little did I know the coming days would reveal even deeper truths and unexpected challenges that neither of us anticipated. Days turned into weeks, each moment shared with Tom adding fresh colors to the canvas of my once muted life. Our connection deepened, naturally built on mutual respect, kindness, and a shared understanding of loss and resilience. Still, there lingered a quiet hesitation, subtle tensions rooted in fears. We rarely spoke aloud. One sunny afternoon, while we were planting roses together in Tom's backyard, a comfortable silence settled between us, leaving side by side in the soft earth. Our hands brushed occasionally, sending small sparks of tenderness through my heart. His garden was different from mine, less tidy, more carefree, but somehow beautiful. A reflection of his gentle spirit. You have such a gift for gardening, Tom remarked warmly, gently patting down the earth around a rose bush. My yard hasn't looked this good since Margaret's days. I Smiled softly, wiping soil from my fingers. It's peaceful to work together. You know, I've forgotten how nice a companionship feels in ordinary moments. Tom glanced at me, his blue eyes warm yet reflective. I feel exactly the same, you know, Ellen. I think sometimes people our age assume love and companionship have passed them by, but spending time with you has reminded me it's never too late for new beginnings. His words settled gently over me, making my heart flutter slightly. But do you ever feel unstained, Tom? We've both carried so many memories. Sometimes it scares me to think about letting go of them to make space for new ones. He sighed quietly, sitting back on his heels. It scares me too. But maybe we don't have to let go completely. Perhaps it's more about creating a new story, one built on everything we've learned along the way. I considered his words deeply. The honesty of his fears and hopes reassured Mestel. Beneath my happiness was the quiet question I'd been avoiding. Could our newfound connection withstand the complications that might arise, family expectations, community whispers, or even our own doubts? The first challenge came unexpectedly that weekend at our neighborhood's annual community polo. Tom and I arrived together, walking closely but aware of curious gazes following our movements. I felt slightly nervous, realizing how visible our closeness had become. The gathering was lively, neighbors chatting, sharing food, laughter echoing pleasantly under the community pavilion. But amidst the pleasant buzz, I felt acutely aware of subtle whispers, glance, and raised eyebrows directed our way. Later, as I stood alone momentarily filling our drinks, my longtime friend Maggie gently approached me, her expression a mixture of curiosity and concern. Evelyn, darling, she began hesitantly, is everything all right? I see you've become close with Tom. It seems rather sudden. Did I pause, sensing the caution behind her words. It's unexpected, Maggie, but wonderful too. Tom has brought such warmth back into my life. Her eye softened with sympathy, yet the hesitation remained. Just promise me you'll be careful. You know how quickly people talk, and at our age, well, sometimes the heart is fragile. Her gentle warning weighed on me as she walked away. Was I being naive? Was our closeness truly unexpected now to raise doubts among friends who'd known us both for decades? Later, as Tom and I walked slowly back toward our homes, I felt compelled to share my unease. Tom, I started cautiously, my voice betraying the vulnerability I'd felt earlier. Do you think we're being foolish, appealing ourselves to criticism or misunderstanding at our age? Tom stopped walking, turning toward me, his expression calm and thoughtful beneath the soft glow of street lamps. Evelyn, people will always have opinions, but what matters most is how we feel. Life is too precious and too short to live based on others' expectations. His gentle resolve steadied, reassuring my unsettled heart. Yet I felt the deeper layers of doubt rising, impossible to ignore completely. But what about our familiars? My daughter might not understand. Or yours, for that matter. He reached out, holding my hands gently, warmth radiating from his touch. We'll face thoughts of questions together. If we're open and honest, they'll see our happiness, and if it takes time, then we'll be patient. I looked into his sincere eyes, feeling the strength of our connection outweigh my lingering doubts. In that moment, I chose trust in Tom, trust in myself, and trust in the gentle courage that had carried us this far. You're right, I finally replied softly, squeezing his hand. Life is too short not to embrace happiness. Days later, as anticipated, our decision faced its first test. My daughter Laura visited from out of state. She'd always been protective of me, especially after John passed away. Over dinner in my kitchen, I nervously brought up my growing friendship with Tom. Carefully watching her reaction, Laura initially hesitated. Concern etched into her expression. Mom, I'm glad you have a friend, truly, but isn't this a bit fast? Oh, you really know Tom well enough. I took a slow breath, gathering courage. Laura, I understand your worry, but Tom has shown me kindness, respect, and genuine care. It's not about rushing, it's about finding connection. Again, Shesifton, slightly seeming to recognize the depth of my sincerity. I just don't want you getting hurt, Mom. You've been through enough. Gently, I reached across the table, covering her hand with mine. I appreciate your concern, sweetheart, but some DMS risks are worth taking, no matter our age. Laura paused thoughtfully, eventually ending with cautious acceptance. If he makes you this happy, Mom, then I'll support you. Just promise him you'll take it slow. I promise, I whispered, feeling all weight lift from my heart. That evening, as Tom joined us briefly to meet Laura, I watched proudly as their initial hesitation faded into genuine warmth. Afterward, Tom walked me home, the moon glowing gently above us. You have a wonderful daughter, hair marked softly. Unlucky, I agreed warmly, sensing deeper meaning behind his thoughtful gaze. Pausing at my porch steps, Tom said me, sincerity evident in his eyes. Evelyn, we may face uncertainties ahead, but a night confirmed something very important. Whatever we encounter, we'll handle it together. My heart swelled with gratitude. Is quiet strength empowering me? Together, I repeated softly. In that simple word lay a promise, the acknowledgement that life surprises both joyful and challenging were far easier to navigate hand in hand. As I watched Tom walk back toward his house, I knew our journey was just beginning. Despite uncertainties, his gentle strength had taught me that opening one's heart at 65 wasn't an ending. It was a beautifully hopeful new beginning. Yet little did we know the coming weeks would test our newfound closeness in ways neither of us anticipated. The weeks passed swiftly, each day deepening the bond Tom and I had carefully nurtured. Our initial hesitations gradually faded, replaced by a sense of quiet certainty. It felt as if our lives on such revealing, parallel yet solitary paths had gently merged, creating something neither of us had foreseen. Late spring brought warmer days, and Tom and I spent much of our time outdoors gardening, taking peaceful evening walks or simply sharing quick conversations on the porch. Our families grew more comfortable with our relationship, sensing the genuine happiness we brought each other. Life seemed serene, filled with a tenderness that felt like a gift earned through patience and courage. Yet life in its unpredictable held one more unexpected test. One mild evening, while Tom and I sat on my porch watching the sunset paint delicate streaks of orange and pink across the sky, he took a deep breath and turned toward me, his eyes serious but gentle. Evelyn, there's something important I need to tell you. My heart fluttered, sensing the gravity of his words. What is it, Tom? He paused briefly, choosing his words carefully. I received a call from my doctor today. Some tests I had recently. There seems to be a minor issue with my heart. Nothing urgent or too serious yet, but they advised some caution and regular checkups. Concern tightened my chest, yet I managed to remain calm, reaching out instinctively to hold his hand. How worried should we be? He smiled softly, squeezing my hand reassuringly. Honestly, it's manageable for now. The doctor just recommended taking things easy, staying healthy. But Evelyn, I felt I had to share this with you openly. We've promised honesty in all things. His vulnerability deeply moved me. Tom, thank you for trusting me. We'll face this together. Whatever comes, we'll navigate it side by side. His eyes sparkled gratefully. That's exactly what gives me courage in the days that followed. The news lingered softly in the background of our daily lives, a quiet reminder of life's fragility yet but also reinforcing our commitment to cherish every moment. We became even more intentional about making memories. Picnics in the park, drives to scenic overlooks, quiet mornings sipping coffee as hummingbirds visited the garden. We embraced it all, holding tight to the preciousness of our connection. Yet it was one simple afternoon that crystallized everything clearly in my heart. We had decided to take a stroll along the lake near ours, a peaceful spot we both visited countless times alone, yet never together. Walking slowly along the lakeside trail, with the sun shimmering gently on the water and tall grass whispering softly in the breeze, I felt overwhelmed by a sense of deep gratitude. Pausing at a bench overlooking the serene lake, Tom gently guided me to sit beside him, wrapping an arm tenderly around my shoulders. Silence settled comfortably around us, broken only by bird song and gentle waves lapping at the shore. After a thoughtful pause, Tom spoke softly. Evelyn, I've been thinking about something. I turned toward him, sensing another important moment unfolding. Yes, he smiled warmly, his eyes reflecting calm certainty. Life taught us both the value of every moment. It taught us pain and loss. But now it's teaching us something else, how to truly cherish someone again. And Evelyn, I cherish you deeply. Emotion surged gently through my cherish you to Tom more than I imagined possible. He took a deep breath, clearly moved. I'd like us to share even more than we already do, to truly build a future together. Life is unpredictable, but if I've learned anything, just that it's never too late to open our hearts fully. I understood the depth of his words, feeling tears gently blur my vision as warmth filled my heart. What exactly do you mean? He held both my hands gently in his own, his eyes sincere and steady. Evelyn, will you marry me? Not just to share our days, but to share whatever life brings us, good or bad, together. Surprise washed through me quickly, giving way to pure joy. At 65, I hadn't anticipated such an incredible question, yet it felt completely right. "Oh, Tom," I whisper utterly. "Yes, I would be honored." He embraced me gently, gyrating between us as we savored the quiet power of the moment. Two hearts shaped by separate lives, now choosing to forge a united path forward, strengthened by mutual respect, deep friendship, and profound love. In the weeks that followed, our families and friends warmly celebrated our news. Plans for a simple beautiful ceremony unfolded naturally, one held in the garden between our two houses, where our friendship first blossomed. Everything felt meaningful and deeply symbolic of the journey we taken together on our wedding day under a gentle summer sky filled with drifting clouds and the fragrance of roses. I stood beside Tom in front of our families and closest friends as we exchanged heartfelt vows promising patience, kindness, and courage. In all that lay ahead, I felt a profound sense of completeness I'd nearly forgotten existed. Afterward, as the evening faded into twilight, Tom took my hand, guiding me to our quiet porno, draped with delicate fairy lights. The garden around us hummed softly with life and memories. He smiled at me gently, eyes sparkling beneath the soft glow. "Evelyn, can you believe the unexpected journey life took us on?" I laughed softly, squeezing his hand. "Not entirely, but I'm endlessly grateful for every twist and turn because it led us here together." He drew me close, his voice tender as we shared a slow dance to the faint strains of music drifting from inside. "And just think, we nearly missed it all because of a clogged gutter and an unexpected knock on your gate." I laughed again, feeling younger and lighter than I had in years. "Funny how the smallest gestures change everything, isn't it?" His expression grew tender and reflective. Maybe life saves the best surprises for last. Looking into Tom's warm, caring eyes, I knew his words were true. Our journey had reminded us both that love and happiness could blossom at any age, gently unfolding when least expected. Wrapped in Tom's embrace beneath the quiet stars now lighting the summer sky, I felt profoundly grateful. Together we would cherish whatever days lay ahead, filled with companionship, laughter, and the quiet strength that comes from choosing love even when unexpected. And in that peaceful moment, I realized with absolute clarity that life, with all its unpredictability, still held limitless possibilities, no matter one's age. Ismailed softly, feeling complete. "Yes," I whispered gently, more to myself than anyone else. The best truly was saved for last. Together we stepped forward into tomorrow, ready, united, and unafraid.